Hello.
I'm sitting here in North Beach with
Okay.
the Cafe Greco. You're getting the real I'm blasting I'm transmitting from a ancient portal to the poetic realms.
Okay. I think we're rolling and I think it sounds pretty good, so.
Greetings, my name is Lumia, and I'm transmitting to you from the ancient portal to poetic realms known as North Beach, San Francisco, California. Outside the Cafe Greco, drinking a Greco Grande, and having my morning coffee. Today, I'm pleased and delighted to be in conversation with my good friend Nolan. Nolan lives next to the bakery and walks past the synagogue daily and talks to the night and reads her poems and spells and invocations on the street corners of New York City and cities worldwide. How's life going today?
Life is going. It's a very deep honor to talk to you, Lumia.
Well, I thought we would maybe start with a question from the viewers out there on the internet who submitted. Someone wanted to know if there's any truth to the rumor that Anne Waldman had you cloned in a laboratory in the late 80s and that you were actually a scientific experiment.
That I was cloned in the late 80s. I was cloned by Anne Waldman.
Yeah.
I never heard that rumor and cannot.
You were supposed to be a super poet.
I cannot confirm or deny this, nor have I heard about it.
There was a collector in England who had a collection of William Blake's DNA that they used as base material, mixed with Anne's own DNA. And Alan's dandruff.
I never heard about this.
Well, I guess the jury's still out on that one. Well, I guess then we can talk about truth. And do you think it's the poet's responsibility to tell the truth?
I think the poet doesn't have a choice, and that's what makes them a poet. Truth was the last thing on my mind.
A writer from London, Hannah Kadir, wrote that you are the poet enigma. What did she mean by this statement?
I have no idea. I'm just a mosaic.
You currently live in Kensington, New York, down in Brooklyn. How does living in that neighborhood, that environment, participating in that community shape and affect the way you write and the way you make art and the way you live?
Yeah, I've been there almost 15 years. The first thing that comes to mind is that it's ancient. The energy in the air is always of prayer. All the world's corners are praying on different avenues of Kensington, and it's ancient because the feeling of everything being very old-fashioned there, old world values. As a poet, it helps you be in touch with timelessness. Being in a neighborhood where you don't really have advertisements, you don't have trends in clothing, you don't have those kinds of things, creates a more ancient, holy feeling. And it's also kind of lonesome because you don't have, there's not really like an artistic community. So you have a lot of solitude and independence and walking, and you start talking to the night mostly.
What time do you think you come from?
I don't relate to times. I think mostly I feel that we're all in an infinite way, an eternal way, and I don't relate. I don't know. But I like the feeling in the neighborhood that we're outside of time, because it's definitely moving a lot slower out there. Like, I think Native American concept of slow time. When I was young, I would write artists needed the same slow time, but then, in your apartment, you're painting, writing, thinking, dreaming, and then you get on the train and you get into this kinetic, roving, hairpin turn kind of energy when you enter the city, bustling. And so there is a speed. Even in Kensington, there's a lot of aggression and hustle, and then if you take a train to Manhattan, that speed intensifies, and so it's a mix of fast and slow. And I think that's good for poetry and art, because adapting to what's the current that you have to navigate, you have to wear so many different speeds and times, and gets into music. This is a tiny piece of a performance from October 2022 at William Burroughs' bunker on the Bowery, New York City, featuring musicians Daniel Carter, Bentley Anderson, and Oliver Ray. Excavation approximately. Enamel review. Teal. Unfathomable. Double Santo Santo. Ring by the window, Santo. Raw radiance, a Buddhist passing seance doesn't believe in an atom, halo, bones, archangel. A monk who sees protons as sacred antiquities, blue excavation, giant night, glowing train, rim of the blast, devout wind, billowing grace, gravity, eternal subway glow, and the one-way, circuitous, corrosive, imagination practiced on the real. And the planet hanging, and the air hanging, someone getting a record down, all aglow, disorder in the trees.
Well, I want to ask you about your relationship to your audience. Your poetry rejects a fixed form most of the time, preferring to be fluid and really performed and continually rewritten in the performance. So who do you write for? Who is your audience?
I think the air and the hearts, the flowers and the atmosphere and the ether and the unknown and the mystery and God and all that. And for poets who have died, and for anyone who resonates.
How do you approach the ritual performance, the ritual of reading poetry?
I close my eyes. I enter a trance. I leave my body. I try to tap into what feels sacred, and things happen that I'm not in control totally. It's kind of like ice skating on the atmosphere, because you go through a process of things are coming, so you spit them out, and then it reminds you of another shard of a few lines, and you weave that in, and then you get another idea or vision, and then you read something, or your heart feels something. So you're always following a vision. Sometimes you start with the vision in advance, sometimes you receive it as it's happening, but you're always kind of responding to this thing you're creating as it's happening. So it feels sometimes like ice skating or painting or flying, improvisation, memory, other bodies, other people coming through me.
What does mercy mean to you?
When I hear the word mercy, I see a particular type of blue, maybe like a blue eye, and it has a tinge of red around the eye. And then you get into mercy, like to see through. So the eye is a bit translucent, and this red tinge around the blue is maybe Mercury. Maybe it's a little bit of rage, this tinge of red around the translucent blue, and it's a way of seeing, to see through mercy. Something you can see through, like a planet that's translucent or a person that's translucent, or to see through to someone's heart. And if you look with mercy, you can sit with compassion for another person's throbbing colors and tones and pulsating things that are happening inside of them. It doesn't just have to be people, but I think we're starting to develop a deeper lens of mercy as a whole. I think gets into war, and not that we're past war, but there's more of a sense of just like that becoming a foreign concept, that our planet has moved beyond. We're not there yet. We have a lot of work to do, but if we can develop a way of looking with mercy and compassion, I think we could maybe put the planet into a whole new planet.
Well, if you don't come from the laboratory, where do you come from?
I was born at a very young age. I feel most aligned with planet Mercury. When I think about where I might feel from or rooted or most resonant, it's really a mercurial kind of place, and invisible kind of place, or at least a place I haven't yet seen with my own eyes, but I sense. And it's kind of reddish pink, this place, but it's transparent, it's like invisible, and it hangs like a planet. It kind of balances in the ether. So I don't know, but then I also come from New York City in a way. All my grandparents, great-grandparents were from here, and before that they were like traveling kind of rambler types in Romania.
Who is the great Scar Belly? Question 3A. Who raised you? Are you a female artist? How do you exploit the intimate relationships of your life in your work? Who taught you to see the archetypes of humanity in the people's faces you pass on the subway?
I've learned to see through a lot of other people's eyes. I've found my own eyes in other people's eyes. I'm very grateful to Anne Waldman, who I met on the street. I gave her a flower, and from that we spent the next 12 years working together on different artworks, books, and films, and performances, and artwork for books and for albums, and photo shoots, and walking the rainy streets of New York, making movies that we didn't know what we were doing exactly. It's very hard to explain this gratitude, similar to my elder Daniel Carter. These are guides who confirmed to not just myself, but many artists and young artists, that freedom and that energy that you feel is only a dream that's not made for this world, is real and can be cultivated, and it can and should be for all beings, all creatures, all animals. And I'm not always sure that without those guides I would have believed that I could even take a stab at dreaming. And that's the lineage thread, fume, rolling wonder dimension, and it keeps going into future generations. And so I never think that, although it may be a struggle, it feels, or it's at least the intention is service when pursuing art, because you want to cultivate a consciousness into the future that people can be free, and that communication and vision and imagination and compassion are not just dreams, not just imagined ways of being in the world, but that we can really create that from art and from relationships and collaborations. I have many teachers. Luke Stewart has been a teacher to me. Oliver Ray. My grandmother who lives without electricity. My brother who lives in another dimension. And my friend Gabriel, who taught me the wellspring of compassion has no bounds. There's a special dog. Lots of teachers.
Moses spoke of a translucent path of seashells that the Israelites walked on out of Egypt. What does this translucent path look like?
what I most like that you said is the idea of the way you say a word, because this gets into the other role of the poet to me, which is that a lot of miscommunications are happening all the time, and they create a lot of conflict and wars. And I always loved the story from Robert Graves, The White Goddess, about, I think it's ancient Celtic poets, when they had war, two different armies, they each had a poet who was respected. And the two poets from the different armies would retreat to a hillside to discuss the battle. And their version of what was happening for the other and I always thought that would be really handy if we had trusted poets, even in just one-on-one conversations, because people hear words all different ways. They interpret them infinite contexts and definitions and tones and colors, and I think poets could have real practical work to do with detangling perceptions that, because I like what you said, that words get into infinite symbols and meanings, and it often can create trouble, because people think the way you say the word is the way you hear it, and then you can get dangerous like that. And I always loved the Bob Dylan every word with its big letter and little letter, like the word know, capital K-N-O-W. Each of us really knows no thing, but we think we do. And so then you get to like the silent monk and the poet on a silent vow while speaking, and the translucent earth, something you could see through, quivering neath the threshold, perched on the rim of the blast. Spirit remains where no drivers in sight, spilling infinity fabrics upon monastic night. Triangle moving ever upwards like a snakeskin temple, sliding over pinnacle, myth of a swift shadow, double enigma planet, roving in compassion's jeweled flight, saturated to full spectrum frequency, the shape of whole earth radiating in stillness frequency, surrounded by the fizz of a radio bloom static, vanishing acts, disappearance tricks, as the awe is reality containing absence. Planet hanging orb-like glows, far enough to traverse centuries and disappear the mythic fictions. In the rolling wonder dimension, fictions melting like wax until they wane, sanctified and smooth. The images held psychically. Highway as amulet to the city. In a swirl, rage, flight, return from exile. Teeth spilled upon the neon utopia of notions. Liberty pursued, must flee. For I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat. Two clouds appear on the mountain top, blue drum swirl, rage, flight. In a vow to never leave you, streets of empathic fever queens and saints and starvers, brutes in cold blood, mercy-eyed, on a talking tonight walk, entranced to define the ability to rewire the skyline lit, a magician's wave of life flashing briefly. Two clouds collide in the rolling wonder dimension. The distance strayed from the origin. This will always be its spine by spiritual design. 'Neath the black night glittering, a city of dreamers and chaos, worn psychically like a shroud.